Welcome to NFL Talking Points with me, Jamie. I'm joined with Adam. It's the AJ connection yet again because Brad has decided to play football, soccer, rather than actually, do his job. But it's fine. We move. We've got the week 12 review and the week 13 predictions and fixtures, I guess, or whatever. So we'll smash through week 12 because we don't really want to talk about it that long. I don't either. Yeah. There you go, Carolina Panthers fan. Teams on bye.
The fact that's made an appearance, it's actually stunned me. I was literally going to make a comment. There's no Panthers merchandise on display, but the fact you've been brave and still got the football out is quite impressive.
Yeah, it's a bit deflated, which is If you're listening to this, we have got a YouTube channel where you can watch us. Just type in NFL Talking Points on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to those videos, so I can not be as deflated as the Panthers football is. Week 12 review. The teams on bye were Cardinals and the Kansas City Chiefs. If you really want to go watch the reviews that I've already done with the Bears, Lions, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Saints, it is available, as I said, on the YouTube channel, and it's also its own episode for some reason on SoundCloud and Spotify and Apple Podcast. Adam, do you want to make any comments on those three games? Bills easy game against the Saints. Trevor Siemian shocking. Raiders, Cowboys dropping another game, and obviously Lions dropping another loss.
I don't think I could do against any more justice than your review show special on YouTube. Highly recommend. Like the sincerity of it all was just beautiful to watch.
Yeah, there's definitely no sarcasm whatsoever in those games whatsoever. But we'll move on. We'll try and fire through his reviews. Well, I'll say 5 minutes, but it'll probably be about 10 minutes on it. So first things first, Sunday games. Buccaneers away at Colts. Buccaneers won this one 38-31. They're now 8-3. Brady is now 9-0 against Indianapolis since 2010, including playoffs. So we both backed the Colts. So that was, great move by us. Another win with Tom Brady. It's just the Buccaneers. It gets close to December, January time, and then they're just going to turn it on and probably end up winning the Super Bowl again, aren't they?
I think we were stupid for that, and then weren't we really? And I think that a lot of people got carried away with the hype of, as I say, Jonathan Taylor, the MVP, the 5 touchdowns the previous weeks. And up until really, I think it was the penultimate drive of the game for the Colts, when they leveled the game up to 31 apiece. The Bucs defense, Todd Bowles has done a job on them. Like the rush defense from Tampa Bay was superb. And it was actually the running back on the other side of the ball, Leonard Fournette, who dominated the game. It was the Colts defense. They had no answer for him. And it's classic Tampa Bay. When they're up against it, they find a way to win. And even when you level the game with them late on, they've got Tom Brady and the Gronk looks good. They were always going to find a way to win the game with the last play of the game, pretty much. So it's just what they do. It's saying that like they've got players that have done it forever, haven't they? So in the end, we shouldn't have been shocked that they won the game. Although the kickoff return did make it interesting, but Carson Wentz just didn't have the receivers, I'll say, to make the clutch plays to make it really interesting.
But he didn't. He couldn't throw it 30. He had 32 yards just to throw it into the end zone. It was 32 yards away. He couldn't throw it into the end zone from there.
Yeah.
He made a yard play to start the game off, but it is what it is. That was actually a good classic NFL playoff game standard. Like the Colts, I think, will end up in the playoffs. The Bucs obviously have won the NFC South. So congratulations.
Well, you think the NFC South's over?
We'll get on to that in a bit. Next, we've got the the Jets against Texans. The Jets won this one 21-14. I didn't think it would get any worse for the Texans, and they lose at home to Zach Wilson, who I think is probably the worst drafted number 2 quarterback in NFL history.
That is a big claim, but
I see no talent in him whatsoever. He come on. Johnson come on, a successful 2-point, so he should be playing. He's throwing the ball better than Mike White. He's throwing the ball better than Zach Wilson. But, Zach Wilson sucks, but not as bad as the Houston Texans.
Do you look at it and think that his interception was one of the worst, certainly of the season? Maybe all time?
Maybe of all time. I just run. Just why not just run for the first down? Why did he try and flip it to his running back who's not even look? It's almost as bad. You got the butt fumble, then you got this, and like both so jets, isn't it? It's so close to what's worse, but it's Thanksgiving. That happened on last Thanksgiving. Was it Thanksgiving? Was the butt fumble? Now this Thanksgiving
Yeah.
they've got the butt pass. I guess. I mean, just shocking. And yeah, the Texans still lost. I mean,
Yeah.
2-9.
Less said about that game, the better. The Houston section should be winning that game at home. I think how you can go from beating Tennessee, which we'll come on to in a moment, to like that. As I say, it's just simply not good enough, and they're just not got players that can make the big plays in their ranks, and it's just going to be another abysmal season. And they're lucky that they share division with the Jags, because they somehow might finish third, which is ridiculous, really, because they should be finishing bottom of any division.
Yeah, I mean, those two teams probably will finish bottom of their divisions. I mean, these two, it's an NFC East game, Eagles against Giants. You can tell by just my voice how I just could not care less about these past two games. I mean, Eagles 7, Giants 13. The Eagles, I was thinking they've got the easiest run of games left to get into the playoffs, and they bottled it. First game, Giants away, they lose by 6 points.
Yeah, I thought it was a dreadful performance by the Eagles, and I think it's Jalen Hurts' worst performance in the NFL.
Yeah,
I think that credit to the Giants defensively, the pass rush I thought was solid and to expect from a fairly decent defense. But the fact is Jalen Hurts has got to be making some of these throws, and he looked like a quarterback that had been found out that if you stop him running like as much, I know he's still got close to 100 yards in it, but a lot of them were QB scrambles when there was the pass rush. But apart from that, his throwing was ordinary, and in the end, when it came down to the final drive of the game, when the Eagles went 4th and out, he never looked like finding his receivers to get the Eagles back into it. And we know really that they're not good enough for playoffs. So they were getting the odd really lucky win against sort of teams they shouldn't be beating. I think you know that very well, don't you, Jamie?
Maybe they should be. Who knows?
But at the end of the day, they're proven that they're way off the pace, especially in the NFC, which we're seeing is a much harder conference than the AFC. So poor result, and I think to be fair, the Giants probably they deserved it, especially for their recent performances. But if we ignore the Bucs performance, I thought overall they've been a lot better recently, and have been quite unlucky in a lot of these games.
I actually think the Giants are actually a very good defensive unit. Offensively, they just suck. But yeah, win's a win for them. We'll move on swiftly we'll quickly go through this game. The Dolphins beat the Panthers. Next, we've then got the. I mean, do you want to talk about it? 33-10. 33-10.
Well, the simple question has to be: we'll try and keep it short and sweet. What went wrong?
Better question would be that's a long question. The better question is what went right. Cam Newton connected with DJ Moore for a 64-yarder. And yeah, that was it. Matt Rule was somehow still in the job. McCaffrey's now out for the season. As I've suggested, we need to trade him for Deshaun Watson, throw a few picks in, take him. He's not needed anymore at the Panthers. We've got plenty of other options. He's not good enough. He's made of glass. So he needs to also go. Matt Rule, I don't even know why he's still here. He needs to go. He's getting out coached. Brian Flores, I can accept because he's actually decent. But to get out coached last week by Ron Rivera is an absolute disgrace. So Matt Rule needs to go as quickly as possible. Get Joe Brady to the offensive coordinator. Might as well put him in as a head coach. Cam Newton, I actually felt quite sorry for him. It got to that point where he got the rushing touchdown. You think, okay, this could, here we go. The defense didn't make the right plays. We can carry on or sustain any drives whatsoever. Turnovers cost us massively. The punt, the guy, I can't remember what his name is, Colton or whatever it is, he's out of 400 punts, he's had 2 blocks and return for touchdowns, both against the Dolphins. And it's just like stats like that you just can't make up. And it's just like, what's the point? PJ Walker there come in. We've got one of the worst O-lines in the NFL, I think. It's been the exact same for the past 6 years. The one year we had a good O-line, we made it to the Super Bowl. So that's the difference. Good news, though, Dante Jackson is now on IR as well. So he's made 2 interceptions this season, which is horrendous for a starter out of, 12, 14 games. not 12 games. So and what I did like on the news of him getting put on IR, it says he's an unrestricted free agent in the summer, which means that he's on IR for a groin injury and he's off.
Yeah, so that was his last game for the Panthers, basically.
Hopefully it's McCaffrey's as well.
Yeah. So just quickly, as I was trying to try and keep it to
trying,
because it sounds like I say basically Panthers funeral. Miami point of view, it was a performance led to be encouraged by.
Yeah. They're not.
Do they not have to do much then? Is it a case?
No, I think
33-10 is convincing, no matter how you look at it.
All they needed to do was put pressure on our passing game, and that was it. And they did exactly that. Cam Newton had, I think he had an average of 2.1 seconds to make a throw. Before your pocket collapses, what can you do in 2 seconds? That's why a lot of them were rushed, and that's why he was 5 for 21, 2 interceptions. So, yeah. But no, fair play to Dolphins. They took advantage of a poorly coached Carolina Panthers team, and I'm looking.
And I felt a defense that was making the odd sack. Right, I say for Brian Burns on tour, but ultimately I thought defensively, coach-wise, had to be questioned because I think that personnel should be able to handle what Miami had to offer. Yeah, they kept, like say, Gesicki fairly quiet, but I thought it was pretty predictable what they were going to do in the end. Tua was going to drop back and try and find Jalen Waddle, and the cornerbacks and safeties just didn't deal with him. He was his best numbers by far as a Dolphins receiver, but as a rookie, compared to the experience of the Panthers defense, they should have done a lot better. And I think that was a big difference, weren't it? Was that Tua was able to make them throws regularly, and Cam, yes, he had a dreadful day, and the rest of the NFL media has covered that, but was able to do that once for DJ Moore, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly that, and that's why Dante Jackson will not ever play for us ever again. And Cam Newton also, I will say, had the lowest quarterback percentage since a Lions quarterback in 2004, Joey.
Yeah, it's lowest passer rating as well at one point, weren't it? At one point, it was 5, weren't it?
It's one of the lowest in NFL history. Anyway, enough about my depressing team. Let's move on to your positive team. I'll start off with some nice sacks. Some nice facts. Obviously, you beat the Titans 36-13. It looked interesting up until half time, and then the Titans, for some reason, never come out the locker room. I'm not sure what happened there. Most games with 65% completion this season. Mac Jones 10, Brady 8, Burrow 8, Kirk Cousins 8, Murray 8, and Dak Prescott 8. Most games with 95 plus passer ratings this season. Mac Jones 8, Rodgers 8, Stafford 8, and 5 players are tied with 7. Most yards per attempt in the NFL in November. Mac Jones leads it with 8.63 yards per attempt. Most games with 100 plus passer rating among first round quarterbacks from the 2021 draft. Mac Jones 6, Trevor Lawrence 0, Zach Wilson 0, Trey Lance 0, Justin Fields 0. So is Mac Jones in the MVP mention or not?
I think the MVP is a bit too strong a talk. I get why people. I think offensive rookie of the year definitely. At one point, Ja'Marr Chase potentially, but I think that Ja'Marr Chase. I think as a wide receiver, it is difficult because. Not that he's doing anything wrong, but naturally Burrows and the Bengals offensive playbook, which we'll come on to shortly, in a very close game against Pittsburgh, that you'll see that for example, that the Bengals will use other receivers. So Ja'Marr Chase won't necessarily do anything wrong, but they're going to use the likes of Boyd, Higgins, etc., and Uzama as a tight end. But Mac Jones certainly is consistently now. He's finding players, but he's not, for me, just a check down quarterback. He's starting to make the deeper throws, etc. I think on 3 passing attempts to Jonnu Smith, that was really close to finally get him involved. I think the motivation was there against his old team for 49 yards. He seemed to have a brilliant understanding with Kendrick Bourne. And you do question now, and it's a really hard one. Is it better coaching by Belichick and McDaniels now, or is it just better execution for the players, or both really? Because we look a completely different team. These last 6 weeks, and it's since that Texans game, we look a different franchise, because that's why I went so crazy when we beat the Texans, just because we got so outplayed that day, but done enough to win the game in the end. And now we look a completely different side. It's just mental how quickly the fortunes have changed. I mean, how do you see it?
No, I saw it as a turning point beating the Texans. It was sort of like it's a weird one because it's the Texans, but it was like a defining moment for Mac Jones as like his, his coming out game of being able to find, like, say, Kendrick Bourne and everyone like that. But yeah, no, he's some of his throws, I think, as you like, literally to Kendrick Bourne, he bombed one right over the side. It was just like, it wasn't as I say, a check down. It was a masterpiece, really. So I've got nothing but praise. Unfortunately for the New England Patriots, I think they'll take some stopping. I think they will get stopped by the Chiefs eventually, but as it stands, he must be pretty happy right now. It's the highest, I think, points differential as well from scored to conceded. I think it's like 194 or 174 or something like that. So
yeah, well, I think that's the key thing as well, is that the defense, as I say, I said at the start of the season, my gut feeling was it's a top 10 defense. I think right now it's certainly one of the best, if not the best. It already will be like the Bay, but on form, they're definitely doing that. So I think the linebackers are, as I say, causing all O-lines issues as well. But also, for example, we must not forget is that Tennessee really rushed 300 yards, which is a lot to give up. So that is a bit of a concern. But the fact is when I think it's Hilliard and one of them where he would look like he was going to do another big rushing touchdown. JC Jackson then punched the ball. That could have easily gone out of play and then Tynes would have recovered it. But then Jalen Mills then had the awareness to then quickly get down on it. And that was the difference on the day, was that Tennessee were in the game for pretty much till the fourth quarter. I felt they were nowhere near as good in the second half. Like you said, that from the execution just wasn't there. But different from the Patriots were finishing a drive where it through field goals, and the Titans then really their run plays, they'll then run the ball down the field, then turn the ball over, and that and the combination of penalties just killed them. So I think Tennessee will be in the playoffs, but you can just see a big game on the road. They didn't show up, and
I actually thought Tennessee were awful. I think first half the score flattered them at half time.
That big rushing touchdown, weren't it?
Yeah, they really didn't.
Foreman was it who made that one?
Yeah, but they really didn't do anything for me. I thought they just looked like a pretty bang average franchise. And then Class showed at the end, but it should never have been that close for me. Apart from one defensive gap, that was.
And I think Belichick was frustrated, rightly so, because we're doing brilliant plays in there up to that final 20, which I think being an issue all season. That's why Nick Folk leads all the stats, where it looked like Patriots are going to get the touchdown and then having to settle for 3. But I think in the end that the defense were creating so many opportunities that the touchdowns were always going to come in the end. But it's a team full of confidence. The free agents are all finally starting to show up, and the thing is that you do, in a weird way, you think would it be a bit beneficial if there's a loss in there somewhere, one more defeat perhaps, because we're going such a ridiculous run. You think that it could come to a halt in the playoffs, which of course is the worst time to lose a game.
Could come in week 13 on Monday. So we shall see. Well, as you said, it was a very close game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals. Only 31-point difference.
Take that one up nicely, didn't I?
Yeah. Big Ben has now lost 3 straight starts against the Bengals for the first time in his career. I mean, his career is over now, isn't it, for Big Ben? Yes, I know I'm going to give Bengals the credit they deserve. Obviously, they annihilated the Steelers 41-10 at home. But that's it. I mean, there's nothing good. What's mental is that I always thought Steelers had a good defense, like above average, top 15 defense. But now looking at it, there's nothing. I think as Stephen A. Smith, there's nothing scary about the defense. That's why Joe Burrow just kept launching it. Didn't really care if he gets intercepted because he knows Big Ben's not going to go marching down the field and score 30 points, which is mad because against the Chargers they did. So it was just one of those days for the Steelers. They're now 5-5-1. Bengals, 7-4. They'll be in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head from point of view. The Bengals seems like they've overcome that hurdle where they're getting one amazing result and then one appalling result. They seem like now that they're doing it where they can put 2 good performances together back-to-back weeks, which is essential if you're a playoff chasing team. And they took advantage. They basically are doing to the Steelers what the Steelers used to do to them. I think both fan bases will acknowledge that the tide has turned. That the Bengals, as I say, look a threat, especially home and away. Whereas the Steelers are an average team at best. They are awful to watch. I mean, Big Ben I'm getting bored of saying it now. It's like I used to enjoy taking Mickey out of him, but it's boring. Like we all know he is slow, immobile, easy to intercept, predictable, not got the class of wide receiver Antonio Brown. Although Najee Harris has been quite good, he's no peak Le'Veon Bell. Them days are gone. I think it's not just Big Ben that's got to go. I know that the whole NFL media love Tomlin, etc., but less than 50% win rate. Like, that's shocking.
He did, he's never had a losing record at the Steelers either since he's been there. That's
which you have to say looks likely now, doesn't it? I mean, the fact that the opportunity was for them to be 6-5, and they drew to the Lions. Like, what? That's sackable in itself.
Mason Rudolph, isn't it? I mean, appalling.
It's just been embarrassing. I think the fact that they were even considered in the playoff contention at one point. I mean, I expect them to finish rock bottom of the AFC North. And you think for the team that's historically got the joint most Super Bowls, that is a real low point, isn't it, for their franchise?
Yeah, joint for now, up until Mac Jones lifts it, doesn't it? But do we have to really talk about this? The Falcons beat the Jaguars. Falcons are actually still in playoff contention. They won this one 21-14. Matt Ryan is now 4-0 against the Jaguars in his career. Jaguars 2-9, tied with the Texans for last of the AFC
South. Do we talk about it? Well, yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit because I guess we have to. But the one key thing you said there that I have to disagree with: Falcon playoff contenders.
They've got to play the Panthers yet, so that's what 6-6.
Yeah, so, but I mean, we'll talk about who they've got week 13, and then normal service will be resumed. The fact is that the Falcons look a much better team with Cordero Patterson. I think he's had a brilliant season as well. I think he probably credit to the whole Falcons coaching setup. I think that they've got the best out of him, even better than some of the other teams that he played for, and that includes like New England. They've used him as his power running back, and when he gets going, defenses struggle to cover him, and he's the difference between them look like struggling to beat the worst teams in the NFL and getting over the line. Now he's just been sensational. Kyle Pitts good, and then to be fair, the fact the Falcons I guess are nearly at 500 without Calvin Ridley is, as I say, a decent effort. But I think what we saw, as I say, when they were on Thursday Night Football and at Dallas against teams that are going to be in the playoffs, that's, as I say, is pretty abysmal. And I think that when they face the real quality, this is why they'll perhaps have an 8-9 record, because their defense just can't cope. And the O-line, as I say, that pocket, it collapses when they face the better defenses. And they only just beat the Jaguars in the end.
They did. Well, I'll quickly go. They've got 6 obviously games left. They've got the Falcons. They're at home against the Buccaneers, away against the Panthers.
Probably win.
They always win at our place. Away at 49ers, which is actually probably a clutch game if they want to get in the playoffs.
You can't see them beating the 49ers right now.
At home against the Lions.
Yeah, they'll win that one.
Away at Bills.
Loss.
And then home against the Saints. So I think you just said it 8 and 9. So that's exactly what I think that will be. So
yeah.
The late window games, we'll start off with Brad's team. That's why, again, he hasn't turned up. It's weird that he doesn't turn up when the Chargers lose. When they win, he does.
The way he's carrying on, he's going to be like McCaffrey. He's going to be on IR, isn't he, for Pops?
Yeah, he's currently on IR with his groin injury or whatever you want to get his gut injury.
So quickly, for those, because we've had obviously Dizzy's on furlough, as we know, but shall we do it if you miss at least back-to-back weeks on pod that you are PR for podcast reserve?
Yeah, that's exactly what he is. Yeah,
he's well played, Brad, for being on podcast reserve.
Well played, Brad. Fantastic effort. Almost as good as effort as your Chargers, who got demolished at Mile High against I say Teddy Bridgewater, so he did go off injured, and Drew Lock's come on. I won this one 28-13. The Broncos are 6-5. What is going on?
They don't seem to do much, though, do they? They like
no, awful team.
They don't make the pass plays right on average where you think like, wow, that's really sort of like stun the NFL for like. They don't sort of tend to fight down the field with the big 50-yard plays, but they do tend to do a job. Still got a steady-ish defense, you have to say, and they force teams to make mistakes, and they are a horrible team to face. I have to admit that I think they started the Cowboys rot as well when they went 30-0 up in Dallas. They beat the Chargers, who can be dangerous, but they've just not got the consistency. And I think when their own line is getting breached like they are, and then that rush defense has been dreadful all season, although they're in the last wildcard spot now, they're in real danger of losing out, aren't they?
Yeah. I can't believe either of these teams have actually won 6 games. Watching the Chargers, I think they've been awful as well. Their rush defense
Last few weeks.
Abysmal. I mean, since they played you, I think they got found out, and everyone's just annihilated them since then. Really, I mean,
yeah, they literally nicked it against the Eagles. That was it, wasn't it?
Yeah. They just beat the Eagles, who only just. I mean, they lost to the Giants, so
yeah,
absolutely shocking.
But we know the reason why. This is the thing. So if you're a Chargers fan, you're sitting there week in, week out, you're heading out thinking, what's going wrong? We thought Brandon Staley was magic. No, it's because Bradley Cooper, movie star, spent probably stupid amount of dollars or pounds, I don't know exactly how he worked it out, on his Chargers jersey. And since that, I think they've won 1 game. So blame Brad. So we'll like I say, put his Twitter as on the edit, and you can all tweet him your discontent for that shirt.
Yeah, the shirt it's a very nice kit, I will say.
It's a lovely shirt.
Lovely shirt. Really.
The way he's carrying on, I don't think he'll wear it again. Now he's got his jacket back, so the divers dug it up from the Thames. He's just going to wear his jacket over it, isn't he?
His jacket will end up in his Chargers jersey will be in the Thames.
Yeah, and no one will rescue it.
No, exactly. And I mean, from one LA team sucking to another, there's another L for the LA Rams. 28-36, Aaron Rodgers masterclass. I'll tell you what, Aaron Rodgers broken toe. He had his toe out on camera, taking a mick out of I think it was Washington Post or New York Post, whatever they call it. With COVID toe, we'll probably get copyrighted for that now or whatever.
No.
Money taken, but it is what it is. And I mean, he got a rushing touchdown, put up Jalen Ramsey, and then faked him and went in for a rushing touchdown. Easy win. Stafford. That's why he plays for the Lions.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that one. And I thought it's actually a really predictable outcome where you just think Stafford's historically in Lambeau Field awful. The excuses was always his team being the Detroit Lions, but this time round you've got this star-studded LA lineup. I know that Robert Woods is on IR, but then as it sort of coincidentally felt nicely when they signed OBJ. I think although Woods was technically fit before then, but it's sort of convenient that Woods went on IR as soon as OBJ signed. But the fact is, you still got Cooper Kupp, I say Robert Woods, Van Jefferson, Henderson, Michelle. The O-line included Whitworth, all these defensive stars of Donald, Von Miller, and Ramsey, and they didn't show up as a team at Lambeau Field. I thought it was predictable. Stafford pick 6, fumble. It's to say it's just all predictable, and you think, are LA really all that? It seems like that the wins they were getting, barring the Bucks, were against teams that they should be beating. They're coming across as flat track bullies now.
They are, because I love Von Miller so much, because of being a Bronco and stealing a Super Bowl from us. I just like to quote him. This is a quote 3 weeks ago. I went to sleep 4-4 and woke up 7-1. Since Rams acquired him, they're now 0-3, and the Broncos are 2-1. So congratulations.
So one play for Miller.
You made a franchise worse. Congratulations. Packers are sneaking into a number 1 spot. They're probably Bucks will have to go through Lambeau in the NFC Championship. I tell you what, Matt LaFleur, I don't think gets enough credit as he should. He's already been the number 1 seed 2 seasons in a row. He's going to do it for a 3rd season in his 3rd year of coaching in the NFL.
Yeah, and I think what Matt LaFleur has got to do now is obviously get them to over that hurdle of the NFC Championship. And it is obviously a really difficult job, but that's why you're at a top franchise like Green Bay. But the fact is that what's so impressive as well is I know Aaron Jones came back, but it's the fact that there's a big part of the run game that's been missing, still not fully fit. But Dylan, as I say, proved to be a real threat from a passing point of view as well. And they really mixed up the playbook well. That you had it where it was Randall Cobb and Valdes-Scantling making the plays, and Davante Adams, for his standards, had a fairly quiet game. And they still always look like holding on. I never thought that the Rams would tie it. I thought they made it interesting, But as I say, once the pick six from Stafford, it was just like curtains. They look like a team again ready made for the players. Where the Rams look like actually they've got superstars molded together, but are they a team yet? And I've not seen it.
Clearly not. Clearly, they said they're going all in, but since they put that all in post out, as I said, they're now 0-3, so not going very well. But yeah, Packers now 9.
Very all in.
Very all in. Next, I mean, Minnesota Vikings, 49ers. These are the two teams that I expect to get the last the wild card spots, minus Washington. You never know; they're on a 3-game winning streak. But we'll get to Monday Night Football, classic Monday Night Football. Vikings 26, 49ers 34. Great result, 49ers. Jimmy G is just, for some reason, he's just come alive. They've established a running game again, who then obviously helped Jimmy G be a little bit more comfortable. And since doing that, a couple of weeks ago, 49ers looked like an actual team that will end up in the playoffs this season.
Yeah, they look like the San Francisco of old, and I think it coincides nicely that the defense are making plays again. There was, of course, the odd Jimmy G in there as a reminder that, as I say, he's still Jimmy G at the end of the day. But it seems like he keeps giving Trey Lance hope, and then plays really well. But as I say, the Deebo Samuel, we mention him every week. He's sort of used more as a running back than a receiver. But once he gets motor, he's difficult to catch. Ayuk starting to get the plays again. And I mean, they're doing all this with George Kittle really being more of just a blocking tight end. They barely use him at the moment, which is a positive that they can mix up the playbook. And I believe it's the running back Mitchell who's really playing well. And it shows you that the O-line is more steady. And that it was really encouraging for San Fran. I thought it was a brilliant win in a pressure games. They had to win that. And now they are in the conversation. And we could easily see it where the two wildcard spots, like the final wildcard spots, come from the same division, the NFC West. Because really, out of the rest, you can't say a team playing better than San Francisco at the moment.
No. And again, Vikings in a game they must win away from home. Even with the quality that they do have, they just don't win those games, and that's why they're currently 5-6. I don't know if you saw it. Kirk Cousins lined up on the right guard, trying to get the ball rather than the centre, which I thought was quite amusing. On 4th and goal, with about 2 minutes left, lined up. Have you not seen it? Oh, it's incredible. I've got to show you this.
Mike Zimmer, defense is getting up and down as far as defending the run. And defending that 49ers offense. So you go for the points here and try to tie the game up. Let's not winding down with a timeout. Up and down as far as
Look at the running back.
and defending that 49ers.
He's just had a complete head's gone, hasn't he?
But look at the running back was like, whoa, I'm not having this. And then
like Mattison's actually like moving. That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And they lost the game. They had to waste the timeout, run out of time.
Yeah.
Timeout. So
even that sort of generally speaking, like throughout the game, he can be a very good quarterback, and most of the time he's solid. But the Vikings, I think, now need more than solid. When you've got the receivers they had, them two, and Thielen and Jefferson, you've got to utilize them even more. Where Thielen was unplayable at the start of the game, and then he faded away. And I think that sums up the Vikings as a franchise. They're like, oh, he's going to score points early on, and then it seems like that when defenses adapt, they're like, what do we do? And I think that's a coaching issue and a players issue that they've not got on top of. And you think a team that talented should not be having a losing record, but here they are again, and they're going to be careful. If they don't be careful, they will miss out on playoffs.
Sunday Night Football, Browns-Ravens, despite throwing 4 interceptions to Lamar Jackson, the Browns found a way to lose, despite those 4 turnovers, but the Ravens found a way to win 16-10. I watched the highlights, really poor standard game. But it always is with the Browns in there at the moment. They don't provide any good entertainment. Even at home against the Lions, they struggled. But yeah, 10-16, good win for them. It was just a win. Just tick it off, move on to the next one. Lamar Jackson will learn from those interceptions. A couple were like flicked up and everything intercepted. So, it's one of those, just a dub and move on sort of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's getting the job done. Like so, Baltimore's the defensively held off like the Browns when Browns got a turnover. But I think that from an offensive point of view from Cleveland, it's just unacceptable. You can't have that many turnovers and not really convert any of them. It's just not good enough. And like you say, it's standard performance. I think it's coincided with Kareem Hunt being on IR, Chubb being in and out of the team with injury, COVID. They've just not got any fluency. You can't trust any of the quarterbacks the Browns have. It's just really messy. And they're in obviously a hard division with 2 teams playing better than them. And yeah, you think from how close they were at Arrowhead, they're now miles away from playoffs. So I think this is looking a really poor season for Cleveland, and they've certainly got to either rebuild or make changes in the off season.
Yeah, I thought they did rebuild and they were building something, and then they've just
They're building something bad again.
1 step forward, 10 back by this, what it looks like at the moment. Monday Night Football.
God.
Seahawks, Washington. As I said, just getting the win, moving on. Washington got the win, moved on. If it only was for Russell Wilson, who refused to play it to DK Metcalf for a 2-pointer to tie the game 10 to overtime. He refused to play it to a guy who was wide open in the end zone, and took another L. That's, was it 4 straight now for Russell Wilson as a starter? Seahawks only won 3.
That's the first time in his career, isn't it?
Yeah, the only teams they've got the same. The Seattle Seahawks have the same record as the New York Jets.
They're just as bad at the moment. They really are a poor team to watch. I look at it, and in the past, you're thinking, no way would you predict Washington to beat Seattle. But I actually thought this was a pretty comfortable W. Got to be honest, didn't stay up and watch it, because who would? I think if you're a Seattle fan and it's a lot earlier in the evening where they are, you would have watched something like on Comedy Central.
This was
this was on, because it was just because Seattle just offered nothing. Their defense is not what it was. We covered that ages ago, but at least in the past, they had an explosive offense that was capable any given day. But now to have a 3-7 record, I think Pete Carroll surely doesn't need to stress anymore. His team are not playing for him. Players are not good enough. You mentioned it, the running back situation. Did they rush over 30 yards? I don't think they did. It was just woeful. And I think he's got to look at himself thinking, we had a good run. We obviously fell apart after the Super Bowl 49. It's just not been the same for many years. And now they've gone for at least being this solid wildcard team to not even close. Like Seattle season's already over, which is incredible.
They've only lost 2 less games than the Detroit Lions this season. When you say it like that, it's actually quite mad.
It's quite horrific. And it's mental that they've won sort of games, because you watch performances, you think they don't look like beating anyone at the moment.
No, they really don't. I mean, apart from themselves, that's all they look good for. But yeah, we'll move on, Seahawks fans.